responding to comments. I seen a comment that said, what type of evil people would dumb down this great movie against child abuse? Because apparently a lot of people question why Hollywood, why Jeffrey Epstein and Weinstein are putting out movies like this. Okay. You know what? It made me realize, wow, these people have tons of money. They live inside USA as well. They work in Hollywood. So they've seen more than I have. I live on the outside. I wouldn't work for these people. I've only worked for these people like, maybe I worked at the Masonic Temple for like a week rebuilding it. Once the rebuilding was over, I quit. They wanted me to serve while I was there. And it's like, I didn't sign up to serve. I signed up to restore the building as a historical monument. And then another time or two, I went and worked parties or at these people's houses directly. So, and not that many days have I worked in the system. But these other people, these producers making movies, they're working right there constantly beside them. Mel Gibson, he's working right there beside them. So what do? They make it, Russell Brand is them. He's like this superstar. He's on the level of Jeffrey Epstein fame. They make movies about people south of the border, the Dark Angels. When they're working beside the angels elect, like Weinstein and stuff like that. I'm the one making documentaries and tons of information, putting tons of information about what happens in where I live. Okay, and then why didn't they make their documentary something about what goes on in Hollywood? What they've seen. I mean, they're claiming to be people who are coming out and exposing the light, even though they look like the rest of the angels and stuff. So I don't. Maybe it's got something to do with it. Why they look related, and they're not actually doing that. But hell, one day I'm gonna get my gear back and I'm gonna just walk around my city. It'll be that easy. I'll maybe ride a bike, take a bus. It'll be short little bursts, and I'll just share the camera to the names, the symbols, and everything in the city. Wow, some cities I went to, the symbols were off the hook, but like in this one, the names are everything because they put their name on it. Like they use symbols sometimes. Apparently, for a long time, they've had to hide and use their symbols only. But in my city, they got ballsy. They built their own miniature city outside of our city. And then they made brands that all the female wear that brand. Like they wear Jeffrey Epstein's brand on them. Russell Brand. Isn't that an interesting link there that the game has decided to designate that name to him? It's definitely a brand being sold. I've never heard none of them talk about any of that. In fact, in my city, I've shown you where the newspapers have said, we do not talk about this. They talked about it, and they said, our decision to not discuss this further is because they have done so much for our city that it is not a good thing to talk about it. So I guess they've done so much for Hollywood in USA. We should talk about Bolivia, Chile, and Venezuela again. That wasn't the message 2 years ago when I made the videos on Venezuela. I think it's 4 years now. I keep saying 2, but I think we're 4 years past them. Where I made the video showing that I'm talking about Venezuela. Venezuela's misbehaving. Venezuela said no. Can't believe it. Someone said no to us. And then now it looks like they just, okay. And at that same time, there was all this flood of people in the world coming out about, like, you know, Weinstein and Epstein. That was totally cut off. Once the Divock media cut that off, made people put masks on, there's no more talk of Epstein. But it was a hot topic. And at the same time, I was also making videos about, I wasn't even focusing too much on Epstein. Probably made a couple videos about that. But they were talking about Venezuela. And you can just tell it was, I mean, the only reason they talk about anyone is for reasons. So, and someone has some gold, uranium, silicone, silica, you know, something they need. Ruby mines, diamond mines. Generally the reason, oil. Some people say oil, but I always think that because they allow that topic. I never want to think it's really about oil, because just like this movie, why would they say it if they weren't lying? They weren't trying to deceive people. I mean, technically it's not lying. I'm sure you have to have a ton of oil to move tanks through to make tents run over tanks, or tanks run over tents in the desert. I'm sure it requires a lot of oil to move those tanks over there, and then physically move the tank over the tent with the dark angels in the desert. So yeah, I mean, spoils of war are required to fuel the war, but spoils of wars are not fought for the resources to fuel a war. The resources to fuel a war are required for battle to commence and to successfully end and begin again. Yet no good general would ever send anyone just to fight for the fuel, to fuel their tank to go fight. It doesn't work that way. Hell, you need the metals to make the bullets. You need a lot more resources than just the few gained for certain actions. And you really have to have a purpose, like positioning, war positioning, strategy, strengthening strongholds. Really, I mean, quite simple to me, but some people got real focused on the oil thing. It didn't work on me. That's all I know. It's because maybe I learned too much about war. I mean, it's basic math. Really, it's math and stuff. I didn't need any education on war. I don't think, anyways. But why don't they talk about what's going on here? If they have this money, power, and clout, like, none of them are coming out. Like, okay, so Jeffrey Epstein for like decades did what he did. So that means people like this making these movies know people like Jeffrey Epstein. And instead of making movies about those people, they're making movies about people in second and third world countries who they've also made news about, which is obviously to promote the invasion of. So to me, that's the type of person who would thumbs down a free movie handed out by people who support Easter bunnies and stuff like that. So, yeah, seems odd. They have that power and don't do anything.